Member of Texas, 7 prison break gang set for execution. Huntsville, Texas. A member of the Texas Patrick Murphy, 57, is slated to receive lethal injection at the state penitentiary in Huntsville. He was among the Hawkins, who had been with the Irving police force about 14 months, had just finished Christmas Eve dinner with his family when he responded to the call about the robbery at a sporting goods store and was ambushed. The escaped inmates were arrested a month later in Colorado, ending a 6-week manhunt. One of them killed him. Murphy would be the 4th inmate put to death this year in the U.S. and the 3rd executed in Texas, the nation's busiest capital punishment state. Murphy, who became a Buddhist almost a decade ago while incarcerated, asked the U.S. Supreme Court on Thursday afternoon to stop his execution until prison officials allow his spiritual advisor, a Buddhist priest, to be with him when he is put to death. His lawyers allege the officials' actions violate Murphy's First Amendment right to freedom of religion. The same request, in a response filed Thursday afternoon with the Supreme Court, the Texas Attorney General's office said only chaplains employed by the prison system can be in the execution chamber, and that officials let Murphy meet with his spiritual advisor before the execution and will allow the advisor to view the execution. Murphy and his spiritual advisor met for about 40 minutes Thursday afternoon. In February, the Supreme Court rejected a request from a Muslim death row inmate in Alabama to have his Islamic spiritual advisor be present in the execution chamber. Dominique Ray, Murphy was convicted under Texas law of parties, which holds a person criminally responsible for the actions of another if they are engaged in a conspiracy. Murphy's attorneys had also asked the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals to stop his execution, arguing his death sentence is unconstitutional because he was only the lookout during the robbery and was not a major participant in the crime, never firing at Hawkins because he had left the scene before the shooting began. The appeals court earlier this week turned down the request, while the Texas Board of Pardons and Paroles declined to recommend either a commutation of his sentence or a 90-day reprieve. Murphy's attorneys also contend his execution should be stopped because Texas lawmakers are debating in the current legislative session whether to change the law of parties to prohibit a death sentence for any individual convicted for the conduct of a co-conspirator. Toby Shook, the lead prosecutor who handled Murphy's case and those of the other 5 members, said Murphy actively participated in the robbery, monitoring a police scanner from a getaway vehicle and telling the other inmates when Hawkins was coming to the back of the store. Murphy was serving 50 years for a Dallas sexual assault but was only 15 months away from being released on mandatory parole when he took part in the prison escape. Shook said Murphy has a very long and violent criminal history, including molesting his stepsister and pulling a gun on his father. Lozano reported from Houston. Associated Press writer Jake Bleiberg in Dallas contributed to this report. Follow Juan A. Lozano on Twitter.
Raindrop, drop top, smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking